Picture this. Right now, somewhere outside your window, there is a bird, like the size of a house cat.
Yeah, a fairly large animal.
Right. And it just lifted off a branch, maybe 6 feet above your head, and you hear absolutely nothing.
Which is wild.
I mean, not a flutter, not a whoosh, complete, total silence.
It completely defies what our brains expect, like a physical object that large moving through the air that fast, it should create a distinct sound.
Exactly. Because if a pigeon tries to pull off that exact same move, it sounds like someone frantically shaking a paper grocery bag right next to your ear.
Oh, it's pure chaos.
Right. It's just so loud. And a duck taking off. That sounds like someone slapping a pair of wet flip-flops down a long, echoing hallway.
Yeah, that visual is spot on.
But this house cat-sized bird pulls zero audio.
It's like someone went into the universe's source code and just deleted the sound files for that specific animal.
Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Because we're getting into this wild secret today about how owls actually pull off this ghost-like trick.
It is brilliant.
We've been looking at the research, and I am honestly still reeling. The mechanics of this are so targeted, so perfectly designed, that human engineers are currently stealing the blueprints for our own massive technology.
We're basically looking at a biological magic trick and, reverse engineering it for everything from power grids to stealth aircraft.
You are going to want to text someone about this the second we're done. But before we get into the stolen tech, we have to start with the fundamental physics.
Right, the basics.
Like, to understand how the owl pulls this off, we need to know why birds make noise at all when they fly. When a wing flaps, what is actually happening up there to create that sound? Let's break this down, without the heavy textbook jargon.
Okay, so when a normal wing slices down through the air, it forces the air to move so drastically out of the way.
Because air hates being shoved?
Exactly. The air gets pressurized under the wing and decompressed above it. So when those two different pressure zones finally meet at the back edge of the feather, they just clash violently.
They create what fluid dynamicists call vortices, right?
Right, which is just a fancy way of saying tiny chaotic tornadoes.
Tiny chaotic tornadoes.
Yeah, just spinning rapidly off the back edge of the wing. The air is tumbling over itself, swirling and physically vibrating.
And that physical turbulence...
With that violent clashing.
Yeah, is what your ear ultimately perceives as a whoosh or a flapping sound.
Spot on.
So most birds just accept that. Like, the pigeon deals with the tumbling air and accepts that it's going to sound like a shuffling deck of cards everywhere it goes.
Pretty much. For most birds, the noise is just the inevitable aerodynamic cost of doing business in the sky.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because scientists actually put owl feathers under a microscope to figure out how they evade that aerodynamic cost.
And they found some truly bizarre stuff.
Right. They found 3 separate, distinct structural features right there on the wing. 3 things that no other bird has all at once.
Yeah, the first one is a comb.
Literally, tiny, stiff, comb-like teeth sticking out of the front edge of the feather.
The leading edge, the part that hits the incoming air first.
To translate this for you listening right now, imagine a massive roaring waterfall. It is incredibly loud because all that water is crashing down off one big ledge at the exact same time.
It's just a solid wall of noise.
Right. But if you took that exact same amount of water and instead of one big drop, you built a staircase made of 1,000 tiny baby ledges.
You completely change the acoustic profile of the water.
Exactly. It turns that deafening roar into a quiet, gentle trickle. You'd barely even notice it.
And that is exactly what these tiny comb teeth on the owl's wing are doing to the air.
Instead of the air slamming against one solid, hard wing edge and making a loud collision.
These little teeth chop the air up. They organize it.
They split that one big wave into thousands of tiny, harmless microstreams.
Right, before the air even has a chance to turn into those chaotic tornadoes.
Yeah.
It is brilliant because it's preemptive.
Pre-breaking the noise.
Yeah, the wing is essentially pre-breaking the noise into pieces that are fundamentally too small for a mammalian ear to register as a single loud sound.
Okay, structurally I get it. The air is chopped up at the front. But it still has to drag across the entire length of the wing, right? Doesn't that high-speed friction cause its own noise?
It does, and that leads directly to the second feature. Because if you look closely at the top surface of an owl feather, it is covered in this soft, fuzzy, fleece-like material.
It's called velvet.
Right.
It literally looks like a premium blanket under the microscope.
The mechanics of it are fascinating, actually. This velvet consists of microscopic fibers that stick up just enough to trap a minuscule layer of still, stagnant air right against the surface of the feather.
Oh, wow.
So when the fast-moving air travels over the top of the wing, it isn't rubbing against a hard, rigid feather surface. It is gliding seamlessly over that trapped layer of still air.
It's like putting down a thick, fuzzy rug on a hard tile floor.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Like if you walk in hard shoes on bare tile, click, clack, click, clack, echoes everywhere. But throw a fuzzy rug over it, and the rug just swallows the kinetic energy of your footsteps.
Exactly. The velvet on the wing uses that trapped air cushion to absorb the vibration of whatever tiny bit of tumbling air actually survived the comb on the front.
It dampens the energy.
It dampens the acoustic energy before it can radiate outward. But then, the air finally has to leave the wing.
At the back edge?
Right. And on a normal bird, the trailing edge of the wing is sharp and stiff. When the high-pressure air from underneath and the low-pressure air from on top finally slide off that sharp edge, they snap together violently.
That is the papa slap you hear from a duck taking off.
Exactly. But the owl doesn't have a sharp edge at the back. It has a fringe.
It looks completely ragged.
Yeah, like a worn-out, frayed old shoelace.
Right, and that ragged fringe acts as a buffer zone. Instead of an abrupt drop-off where the high and low-pressure air slam together, the frayed edge creates this gentle, porous gradient.
The air from the top and bottom mix together slowly and softly through those tiny, frayed gaps.
It's the physical difference between slamming a heavy wooden door in an empty, echoing house versus closing that door as gently and softly as humanly possible so you don't wake up a sleeping baby.
Yeah, you are still closing the door, but you're stretching the collision out over time.
So the comb chops up the incoming air. The velvet traps a cushion of still air to absorb the friction across the top, and the frayed fringe mixes the air softly at the back.
It is a highly sophisticated sequential dampening system.
But mathematically, does chopping of the air actually make a meaningful difference out in the forest? Like, we know how they do it mechanically, but are we talking a few decibels, or are they literally silent?
Well, what's fascinating here is the sheer scale of the sound reduction. Scientists have measured this extensively in acoustic chambers.
Okay.
If you take an owl and a regular bird of the exact same size flying at the exact same speed, the owl is roughly 18 steps quieter on the loudness scale.
18 steps. But to put that into perspective for you listening, that scale is tricky. It's not a straight line, is it?
No, it is a logarithmic scale.
Oh, right.
Every single step down on that scale means the sound energy is being cut by a massive chunk. It is not just a marginal improvement.
Oh, wow.
To visualize 18 steps down, it is the exact acoustic difference between someone standing right next to you, speaking in a normal conversational voice, and that same person standing all the way across a large living room, barely whispering.
That is the gap. A normal voice versus a whisper across the room.
It's massive.
And it gets spookier when you look at how they fly. A bar owl is roughly the size of a small dog, and it cruises through the night air at about 2 miles an hour.
Which is remarkably slow for a bird of prey of that wingspan.
I mean, I walk faster than that when I'm distracted by my phone. It's not even really flying. It's just floating in slow motion.
Yeah, floating.
And the muffling system isn't just randomly turning the overall volume down. It specifically targets the exact high-pitched frequency range that rodent ears are perfectly tuned to hear.
Right, it is the ultimate result of an evolutionary arms race. The prey species developed highly sensitive hearing specifically to detect the rustle of leaves or the high-frequency whoosh of an incoming predator. In response, the predator developed a 3-part acoustic cloaking device tailored to bypass that exact frequency band.
We humans have pretty good hearing for quiet things, but we wouldn't even catch a hint of an owl until it was about 3 feet away from our head.
You could be standing in a pitch-black room, and this small dog-sized bird could drift right past your shoulder, and your brain would register 0 threat.
It completely redefines the geometry of an ambush.
It really does.
Wait, if this comb, velvet, and fringe setup is such an ultimate evolutionary cheat code, why wouldn't every single owl use it? If I'm an owl, I want the stealth gear. Shouldn't they all be completely silent?
You would think so. Researchers had that exact same crowing. So they went to the archives, pulled the specimens, and checked the anatomical structures on about 70 different species of owls.
And what did they find?
They found a distinct split based entirely on what the owl eats.
Oh, interesting.
The owls that hunt mice, voles, and shrews animals, with exceptional life-or-death hearing, those owls go full ninja mode. They have massive dramatic combs and incredibly plush velvet.
Right, because their dinner is actively listening for them.
But look at the owls that primarily hunt and eat fish.
Okay.
Their wing combs are almost non-existent. The velvet is thin. The fringe is barely there.
Because fish live underwater.
Exactly.
A fish is not going to hear a bird flapping its wings in the air 50 feet above the surface of a river. It's like a military sniper taking a shot out the side of an active roaring helicopter.
Right.
The noise of the chopper blades completely masks the sound of the approach, so putting a silencer on the rifle is just dead weight.
That's a great analogy. Biological structures take metabolic energy to grow and maintain. Nature is brutally economical.
So if you don't need it, you don't grow it.
Exactly. If the primary food source can't hear the predator coming anyway because of the water barrier, the evolutionary pressure to maintain that silencer completely vanishes. The fishing owls shed the extra weight because they simply didn't need the ninja shoes.
It is perfectly logical. But because this stealth is so highly targeted and so effective for the owls that do use it, human engineers obviously took one look at this and said, can we steal that?
Oh, absolutely. The entire field of biomimicry is based on this premise.
Yeah.
Nature has spent millions of years running trial and error experiments to solve complex physical problems. It is incredibly efficient for human engineers to simply borrow the winning blueprints.
We are flat out copying a bird's homework, and we are using it for massive human infrastructure.
We really are.
Like, if this comb perfectly chops up air, I imagine the biggest, loudest blaze on Earth could use it. Let's talk about the giant windmills. If they actually tried slapping these teeth on a wind turbine.
They have, yeah. One of the major limiting factors for wind energy expansion is actually noise pollution. Yeah, these turbines are the size of skyscrapers, and the blades displace a tremendous volume of air. For the communities living adjacent to these wind farms, the constant low-frequency whooshing sound is a significant nuisance.
It is messy air on an industrial scale.
Exactly. So engineers studied the owl wing and redesigned the trailing edges of massive turbine blades.
They literally added the teeth.
They physically added that specific serrated comb and fringe combination to the back edge of the blades to break up the aerodynamic vortices.
Wow.
The results were immediate. By mixing the air smoothly as it left the blade, the low-frequency acoustic energy was drastically reduced. The turbines operated noticeably quieter for the neighborhoods below without losing their power-generating capacity.
That is wild. And then you have drones, which is the one that really gets me.
Oh, the drones.
Think about delivery drones. Right now, they sound like a swarm of angry, toaster-sized mosquitoes buzzing over your backyard. It is the most annoying whining pitch.
It really is.
But by adding that exact owl comb pattern to the plastic drone propellers, they didn't just solve the noise problem.
No, this is where the engineering gets truly elegant. They achieved their primary goal of acoustic dampening, but they discovered an unexpected secondary benefit.
What was it?
The propellers actually became better at converting electrical power from the battery into thrust. They experienced an actual increase in aerodynamic efficiency.
Wait, really? But how does making something quieter suddenly give a drone better battery life?
Yeah.
What is the physics there?
It comes back to those tiny tornadoes we talked about, the vortices.
Okay.
Turbulence is essentially wasted energy. When a standard propeller chops the air, it creates drag. The motor has to work harder to push through that chaotic air.
Oh, I see.
By using the owl's serrated edge to smooth out the airflow and reduce the violent clashing of pressure zones, you are dramatically reducing drag. The propeller slices cleaner. Less drag means the battery isn't fighting the air as hard, which means longer flight times.
It is literally like finding out that slapping a muffler onto your car engine to fix a noise complaint magically gives you better gas mileage.
That's exactly what it is.
As a total accident, you get a better machine out of it.
It highlights how sophisticated our biological design truly is when it optimizes multiple variables simultaneously.
We can't forget the military applications here either. Stealth aircraft. Because it's great to build an airplane that is totally invisible to enemy radar. But that invisibility doesn't mean much if the guys on the ground can hear your engines coming from 5 miles away.
Acoustic stealth is huge.
Right. Human military contractors are currently taking notes on cutting-edge stealth technology from a bird with a brain the size of a walnut.
It forces a bit of humility on human innovation, for sure.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because you said earlier that nature is brutally economical. Nothing is free. So if this comb and fringe technology is so incredibly efficient that it gives human drones better battery life and makes massive windmills perfect, why don't owls just use it constantly? What is the catch for the bird?
Well, there is always a physical trade-off. This raises an important point about avian aerodynamics. While the serrated comb edge is an absolute masterclass in acoustic dampening, it introduces a slight aerodynamic penalty for the owl in specific flight conditions.
Wait, so they're essentially dragging an aerodynamic parachute just so they can stay quiet. Does this mean they're actually bad at flying?
Not bad, but slightly compromised. It is like a luxury sports car.
Okay.
You can absolutely build a high-performance engine that barely makes a whisper, but to shave off that loud roar, you usually have to restrict the exhaust or the airflow, which means you have to shave off a little bit of the car's raw horsepower.
So the silence costs them power.
Yes. For the owl, the comb teeth disrupt the airflow in a way that slightly reduces the wing's overall lift. Its ability to easily push the bird upward against gravity compared to a perfectly smooth, clean-edged wing like a hawk has.
Interesting.
If an owl is just commuting a long distance from one side of the forest to the other in a straight, level line, that serrated edge is actually making the bird work harder. It is not the most efficient way to travel point A to point B.
Then why have it? If it makes flying harder most of the time?
Because the acoustic cloaking, the perfect silence trick,
Yeah.
only operates at peak flawless efficiency when the wing is angled very steeply through the air.
Oh, and a steep angle is exactly the posture the owl takes when it throws its wings back, slows right down, and dives for the final kill.
Exactly. It is a calculated, highly localized optimization. The metabolic penalty during normal straight flight is minimal enough to endure, but the absolute dead silent payoff during the critical 3 seconds of the strike is the literal difference between a meal and starvation.
So what does this all mean? It means evolution didn't just hand the owl a permanent everyday mute button. It gave them a highly specialized mute button that switches on flawlessly at the exact split second they need it most, when they are 3 feet above the mouse. The rest of the time, the silencer is actually kind of a drag.
The margin of error is incredibly thin, but the design rises to meet it perfectly.
Just picture it. Next time you are standing outside in the crisp, cool air of a still, quiet night, you are looking up at the stars. There might be a shape the size of a cat gliding right over your head in that exact moment, and you would have absolutely no idea.
We rely so heavily on our auditory senses to map our reality. There are entire life-or-death dramas playing out just inches away from us that we are completely oblivious to.
Think about the terrifying reality for the prey. A little mouse scurrying through the grass. It never gets a warning. The night is totally silent, completely peaceful, and then the very next second, it is just over.
Yeah.
No flutter, no whoosh, just game over.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces us to ask a totally new question about our own future.
What do you mean?
Well, if human engineers succeed in copying this feather, if they manage to make all of our drones, our delivery aircraft, our flying taxis, and our military hardware completely perfectly silent like the owl, what does that mean for us on the ground?
Oh, wow. We would lose our auditory warning systems entirely.
Exactly. Imagine a sky full of heavy machinery dropping off packages and transporting people, and you can't hear a single engine until it is 3 feet away from your head.
That's terrifying.
We've spent our entire modern history using sound to know when a machine is coming. If human technology becomes the owl, we become the mice. We will have to completely relearn how to navigate a silent sky.
That is going to keep me up tonight. The blueprints for disappearing were already there, flying right over our heads in the dark, and now we are bringing them into our cities. Go text a friend and blow their mind with this. Tell them about the house cat-sized ghost. See you next time on The Deep Dive.